Welcome once again to Tales from the World's Firesides. I'm Clive Gilson, the story guy. Today our journey takes us to Scandinavia, to Norway in fact. Now as a storyteller, I think I've said before, I try to find and preserve old folk and fairy tales that might otherwise be forgotten or indeed lost, really as a way of sharing cultures across the world, so telling stories from Norway to people in Africa and so on and vice versa. So without further ado, let's settle in by the fire. Breathe in the scent of the evening rain because it's not stopped raining here for weeks. And join me as we share the story, Goodman Axehaft. Goodman Axehaft. There was once a ferryman who was so hard of hearing that he could neither hear nor make out a word anyone said to him. He had a wife and a daughter, and they did not care a fig for the poor man. They lived merrily for as long as there was anything to live on, and when that ran out, they began running up a bill with the innkeeper, throwing parties and feasting every day. At last, no one would trust them any longer, and the sheriff was due to come and seize goods for what they owed and had squandered. So the wife and her daughter set off to stay with relatives and left the deaf husband behind, all alone, to face the sheriff and the bailiff. And there the man stood, pottering about and wondering what the sheriff would want and what he ought to say when he came. If I set about doing something, he told himself, he's sure to ask me something about it, so I'll start cutting an axe handle, and when he asks what it's meant to be, I'll say, an axe handle. Then he'll ask how long it should be, and I'll say, oh, up to that little twig sticking out there. Then he'll ask, what's happened to the ferry boat? And I'll say, I'm going to tar her, and there she lies on the shore, split at both ends. Then he'll probably ask, where's your grey mare? And I'll answer, she's in the stable, in foal. Then he'll probably ask, where are your sheepfold and shieling? And I'll say, not far. Once you're a little way up the hill, you'll soon see them. He thought it all very well planned. A little later, the sheriff arrived. He was on time, of course, but his man had gone the long way round by an inn, and the bailiff was still sat there drinking. Good day to you, said the sheriff. An axe handle, said the ferryman. Ah, said the sheriff, and how far is it to the inn? Right up to that twig, said the man, pointing a little way along the piece of wood. The sheriff shook his head and stared at him, mouth open. Where is your wife, then? Oh, I'm just going to tar her, said the ferryman, for there she is on the shore, split at both ends. What? And where is your daughter? Oh, she's in the stable, in foal, answered the man, thinking he was replying perfectly. Oh, go to hell with you, said the sheriff. Very well. It's not far, said the ferryman. Once you're a little way up the hill, you'll soon be there. And with that, the sheriff, quite beaten, turned and went away. And so ends the story of Goodman Axehaft. Stories like this, I think, remind us that people have always found ways to tell stories that touch our hearts and educate us or fill us full of wonder and sorrow as well. If you want to explore more of these stories, then my collections of folklore from around the world are available in print and in digital form. You can find some of them, for example, at the link below on Amazon. If you're curious about the storyteller behind the mic, then drop by to clivegilson.com. I'm always glad to connect, happy to take questions. If today's tale stirred something in you, then please do subscribe, share your thoughts below and pass the story along to friends. I will get back to you. So after that, though, thank you as ever for joining me by Tales from the World's Firesides. As I say, I'm Clive Gilson, the story guy. And until next time, stay well and keep the stories burning brightly.